Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and today I want to talk about 5 different ways that I believe that Ubisoft could improve Rainbow Six Siege. This has been a video that I've thought about for a while now, because while at its core, this game is phenomenal. It's the reason why I've been addicted to it over this past year. I think it's one of the most refreshing and innovative first-person shooters in quite some time. But of course, as we all know, it's not perfect. It does have its flaws. And so the first thing that I think that they could do is reworking the in-game menu, or if they can't do that, at least allow us a buy all option for each operator for all of the attachments. Because of the way that the in-game menu works, not only does it just take forever to unlock everything, but also you have no idea what attachments you purchased for all of your guns and operators. I'm sure you've had a moment like this. You're in the middle of a round, you want to try out a different loadout for a class, you pick that weapon, and then you realize that you don't have the right scope because you haven't purchased it yet. You don't have the right barrel that you wanted, and so you scrap that idea and go back to your original loadouts. After the ranked match concludes, because it took another 20 minutes, you forgot what operator you wanted to customize, and so then you're having to go through all of your operators again to try to figure out what gun and loadout it was, which just takes another 10 minutes out of your time. And so a couple ways that they could resolve this issue is either allow us to buy our attachments in the middle of a round so that we could just do everything while we're playing the game. That would probably be the best way of handling things. Or just give us a buy all button for each operator so that we can just go into an operator, hit buy all attachments, drop however much renown it is to buy everything, and then be on our way. We can then change everything out in-game because we have it all purchased and make the necessary changes that we want. At the end of the day, though, I think probably the final solution is just reworking the in-game menu, especially the shop. I don't know if I'm just an idiot, but that in-game shop is a maze. It's a jungle. I get lost in that thing. I go in looking for a certain headgear or skin, and I leave either disappointed because I couldn't find it, or it takes me 5 minutes to actually get to the place that I wanted to. At the end of the day, though, the bare minimum that I think needs to be done is to at least have a buy all attachment button for each of the operators. This will be great for new players that are being introduced and even veterans as we progress through the years. Hopefully there's going to be a year 3, maybe year 4, and if they keep bringing in more new operators, it's going to be a little absurd to purchase every single one of these attachments manually. The next thing that I think needs to be done is to fix the vaulting animation. I'm sure you guys have noticed this. An enemy vaults through a doorway, they don't appear to be looking at you, they appear to be looking straight in front, and then all of a sudden you die out of nowhere. You watch the kill cam, they're clearly staring at you the entire time, and this is because the vaulting animation only has one animation. The character will never look to the left and the right. For me, in a game that's all about knowledge and always knowing about what's happening around you, to have an animation in the game that doesn't give you a clear idea of what the enemy is doing is kind of game-breaking in some situations. If you know that a lot of enemies are vaulting through a window and you're trying to be sneaky and catch them by surprise, you think that first guy isn't looking at you because you're waiting for the rest to go on in. He's clearly looking at you, but you don't know that because of the animation and you die because of that. That's very frustrating. And so in my opinion, in a game that requires split-second decision-making where you need to decide if you're going to shoot or fall back, not knowing where the enemy's looking is kind of a deal breaker, and I think this is something that they should try to address in the future. Another thing I think would be a nice improvement is having some sort of report button for toxic players. Sure, it's nice to have a button for suspicious behavior, but what about the guy that's just being an asshole and being toxic the entire time to either you or the enemy team? Like, I don't want to have to deal with that, and to have some way to report this guy would be amazing. And while in general, the community in Rainbow Six Siege is amazing, like you only come across these guys every once in a while, but when you do, it really sticks out like a sore thumb, and not having any way of reporting them just seems kind of off. And while I'm sure that they have some sort of system in place that will let them know who's being toxic, because we do hear stories of people either getting suspended or banned for being assholes, which is great, but I can only imagine it could be enhanced or improved by allowing people to report people for being toxic, because then those outliers, then those players that are doing it consistently will get reported more, and that will get them on Ubisoft's radar. And so while it's not a deal breaker, because as I mentioned, you don't really run across these guys all that often, when you do, it would just be nice to have a button that could send some information to Ubisoft that will hopefully allow them to address the problem. The next suggestion that I have, I realize is going to be a little bit more controversial, but I would love to have some sort of map voting system. Now, I'm not advocating for a system that they have in something like Counter-Strike Go. If you never played Counter-Strike go, you can basically select every single one of the maps that you want to play on, and you'll never play on another one. If you only want to play on Dust 2, for example, you will only play on Dust 2 in ranked. I don't think that that would be good for Rainbow Six Siege. It reduces the variety. If you want to play on a vast majority of the lesser known maps, you're going to have a hard time finding them around because everyone's gravitating towards the popular ones, and that's just going to reduce that variety that we know and love in Siege. And so the system that I would love to see implemented is something that they have in games like Halo, where at the start of the round, before it begins, each team will be able to vote on 2 random maps. So the game will generate 2 random maps that you can choose from, let's say like House and Favela, or you can go for a third option, which is just to go completely all random like we have right now, but at least it will give those players those options. I'm sorry, Ubisoft, but if I have the ability to not play on Favela, I'm gonna pick that option every single time. I despise that map. Now, I know that even a system like this has its problems. If you're someone who loves Favela or the lesser popular maps, then this system isn't going to be as desirable because you're not going to play on those maps that you like. And so it's for this very reason why I know that this is a little bit more controversial. Of course, this is just my opinion. It's just my 2 cents. I'm not saying that they need to do something like this, but in my opinion, this would give more control to the players. It would give them more influence on their matchmaking. And if everyone doesn't want to play on a certain map, it gives them at least one other option that they can choose from, or they can go all random and just bring it up to RNG. The final improvement that I would like to see, which I realize may not even be possible, is moving destruction from client side to server side. If you've ever had a moment where you died through a barricade, someone shot you through a barricade that was already sort of destroyed, there were a couple holes in there, but you watch the kill cam and he just shoots you directly and gets a headshot like he knew you were there. That may be because it's client-side destruction. On his end, the holes may have been slightly different compared to yours. A really good example of this is what you guys saw in yesterday's video. I enter into a room on Oregon, I check around, none of the walls are destroyed, and then out of nowhere, I just get domed in the face. I watch his kill cam, and it appears that he just shoots me through a wall without me getting spotted. Like, now this could be lucky, but then when I talk to my friends and ask them, was there a hole there? There was a gigantic impact hole there that I just didn't see on my end because the destruction was client side and my computer just didn't render that destruction. And so moving everything to server side would hopefully resolve all these problems. Now, the biggest issue with this is that we already have a lot of netcode problems in Rainbow Six Siege, and adding even more load to the servers and more things that they have to calculate may simply not be possible, and that might be the reason why we have client-side destruction. But if that is the case, they really need to go in and ensure that we don't have these discrepancies. In a game where it's all about knowing where the enemy is, if you see the enemy before they can see you because your hole is slightly different than someone else's, in my opinion, that's a very big problem. But yeah, guys, that is what it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about my little list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would you add on to it? I'm sure a lot of people would also mention the matchmaking system. I hear matchmaking on consoles is a little absurd right now. People are constantly disconnecting and reconnecting. That is also something that needs to be addressed, but give me your guys' thoughts down below. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.